For years, ARMY has learned one important lesson. Time moves differently when you watch someone grow in front of the world. When Jungkook and Taehyung first stood on stage together, they were teenagers with wide eyes, nervous smiles, and dreams that felt almost too big to say out loud. They laughed easily, leaned on each other often, and carried the kind of youth that makes everything feel possible. No one back then was thinking about years like 2026. The future felt far away, distant, abstract, almost unreal. But time has a quiet way of arriving, and now, as 2026 comes into focus, fans find themselves pausing. Not because something ended suddenly, not because of scandal or shock, but because something changed gently, undeniably, and the weight of that change is what left so many people speechless. This is not a story about rumors. This is not a story about secret meanings. This is a story about growth, separation and reunion, individuality and teamwork, and how watching two artists evolve can stir emotions fans didn't know they were holding on to. Years like 2026 don't feel heavy because of a single event. They feel heavy because of everything they represent. For Jungkook and Taehyung, 2026 stands as a symbol of transition, a point where past and future meet. A year that invites reflection, not only for them, but for the millions who have followed their journey since the beginning. Fans aren't crying because they are afraid, they're emotional because they remember. They remember Jungkook, the youngest, once shy and unsure, slowly finding his voice, not just as a singer, but as an artist who understands his own color. They remember Taehyung, expressive and curious, exploring art, music, fashion, and emotion with an openness that felt both brave and vulnerable. 2026 reminds fans that those boys are no longer boys, and somehow, that realization hits harder than expected. Most people grow up quietly. Mistakes are private. Changes happen away from cameras. But Jungkook and Taehyung grew up under lights that never turned off. Every stage, every interview, every performance became part of a timeline fans could trace. You can watch their confidence build year by year. You can hear it in their voices, see it in their posture, sense it in the way they speak about music and life. WY 2026, that growth is impossible to ignore. Jungkook stands with a steadiness that comes from experience. He no longer performs just to prove himself. He performs because he knows who he is. His artistry feels intentional, grounded, mature. Taehyung, too, carries a different energy now. His presence is calm, but powerful. His choices reflect someone who understands the value of silence as much as sound, of meaning as much as performance. Fans don't feel sad because they've changed. They feel emotional because they've changed so beautifully. One of the most powerful things about Jungkook and Taehyung's journey is how often fans remember them together. Not as a narrative, not as speculation, but as moments, shared laughter during rehearsals, quiet glances on stage, the comfort of familiarity during exhausting schedules. Over the years, their dynamic has evolved, not disappeared, but matured. Like any long friendship forged under pressure, it has grown quieter, deeper, less performative. BY 2026, fans notice this subtle shift. It's not about distance, it's about understanding. They no longer need constant interaction to prove connection. Their shared history speaks for itself. Sometimes, the strongest bonds are the ones that don't need to be displayed. That realization, that closeness can exist without constant visibility, is something many fans are learning alongside them. The moment that left fans speechless wasn't loud. It wasn't a dramatic announcement. It wasn't a shocking revelation. It was a collection of small things. The way they spoke about the future. The confidence in standing on their own. The calm acceptance of change. For many fans, it felt like watching two familiar chapters close gently, not with a bang, but with a soft exhale, and silence followed, not from confusion, but from emotion, because sometimes words feel too small. Change has always been part of this journey, but 2026 made it feel real in a new way. Fans realized that supporting Jungkook and Taehyung doesn't mean holding them in one version forever. It means allowing them to move forward. Even when that movement brings unfamiliar feelings, there's fear in that, but there's also pride. Pride in watching them step into adulthood with confidence. Pride in seeing them shape careers that reflect their individuality. Pride in knowing they are no longer just surviving fame, they are navigating it on their own terms. That mix of fear and pride is what makes fans emotional. It's the same feeling you get watching someone you care about leave home, not because they're leaving you behind, but because they're becoming who they're meant to be. No matter what 2026 brings, one truth remains unchanged. History doesn't disappear. Every song sung together, every stage shared, every year endured side by side. Those moments are woven into who Jungkook and Taehyung are as artists. Fans don't need reassurance that the past matters. It's already written into everything they've built. That's why the future doesn't feel like a lost. It feels like an expansion point. One of the quiet themes of 2026 is fans learning something important too. How to let go without losing love. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of fixed images. Letting go of the need to define everything. This isn't easy. But Jungkook and Taehyung, without saying it directly, seem to be showing that growth doesn't erase connection. It transforms it. And that lesson resonates far beyond music. BY 2026, both artists have proven something essential. They are strong on their own. Jungkook's confidence comes from years of refining his craft, understanding his voice, and embracing responsibility, not as pressure, but as purpose. Taehyung's strength lies in his authenticity, his willingness to explore art and emotion. Without rushing, without forcing himself into expectations that don't fit. Fans see this and realize that supporting them means celebrating these individual paths just as much as shared ones. That realization is emotional, but empowering. Despite the title that echoes finality, 2026 is not an ending. It's a threshold, a place you stand before stepping into something new. Fans are crying because it's over. They're emotional because they know something meaningful is beginning, even if they can't fully see its shape yet. And sometimes, the unknown is overwhelming precisely because it carries so much potential. As the initial wave of emotion settles, another feeling rises. Gratitude. Gratitude for the years shared. Gratitude for the honesty shown. Gratitude for artists who grew without losing their sincerity. Fans realize that being part of this journey, even as observers, has been a privilege. Watching Jungkook and Taehyung navigate fame, identity, and growth has mirrored many fans' own lives in ways they never expected. That connection doesn't disappear with time. It deepens. At its core, 2026 represents maturity, not perfection, not distance, but understanding. Understanding that change is not betrayal. Understanding that silence is not absence. Understanding that growth can be emotional and still be right. Jungkook and Taehyung aren't leaving fans behind. They're inviting them to grow. Dude, if there's one thing fans can feel beneath the emotion, it's a quiet promise, a promise that music will continue, that artistry will evolve, that sincerity will remain. And maybe that's why fans were left speechless, because no dramatic words were needed. The message was already clear. Not every story stays the same to stay meaningful. Some stories remain powerful because they change. Jungkook and Taehyung's journey, especially as it reaches 2026, reminds fans that growth doesn't erase connection. It redefines it, and that realization, heavy and beautiful all at once, is what brought tears. Not because something ended, but because something real was acknowledged. As fans look ahead, one thing becomes certain. Whatever paths Jungkook and Taehyung choose, they will carry the past with them, not as weight, but as foundation. Point 2026 isn't a goodbye. It's a deep breath before the next step, and sometimes that's enough to leave millions of hearts quietly, respectfully speechless.